Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is, of course, Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is a Monday. Usually myself and Tom would be sitting down and doing a game review of Everton. Usually over the last 3 weeks it's been a defeat, but obviously it's the international break today, so no game review. Not much has happened in regards to Everton either. Obviously, you know, a few of the players have played on international duty. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored a penalty a couple of days ago for England. Fantastic penalty, by the way. He stepped up, you know, wanted the ball, took it and finished it brilliantly. You know, a couple of other players have played. Luca Dean played for France, but you know, it's the international break, not much has gone on, so I thought we'd sit down and talk about that today and basically just talk about whether it's actually needed at the moment and what the actual point of an international break during a global pandemic is. Certainly when you've got players testing positive at half time after already playing 45 minutes, and players testing positive after games, and injuries left, right and centre. Obviously we've had Seamus Coleman, who picked up an injury with Ireland, which seems to happen on every international duty. Seamus Coleman always seems to come back from international duty with an injury, and Ireland don't really seem to care because they call him up every time. Even when he's injured, they call him up. But Everton haven't been massively hit with injuries so far. Touch wood, there's still games to go, except that Seamus Coleman. But there has been other clubs who have had injury after injury after injury during the international break, and I thought we'd sit down and just talk about what the actual benefits are of having that international break at the moment. Certainly friendlies, and then we'll go in. We want to talk about Isco as well, and the rumours linking Real Madrid attacking midfielder Isco to Everton Football Club. Is there actually anything in it? If there was something in it, would he suit Everton? Would he be a player we'd be looking to bring in? And then we'll go into the comments. It is an Ask Me Anything episode, little chilled episode. These where we just sit down, we talk about a couple of topics, and then we get in the comments and answer any questions. You can throw any questions in, football related, non-football related, stuff about biscuits, whatever you want, get it in there and we'll try and get involved with as many of them as possible. So Tom, first of all, mate, how are you? How's things? And you know, how's the past week been, obviously, with no Everton?
Yeah, Sam, mate, it's a bit of a relief, isn't it, every time now that we get a break from Everton. So yeah, it's been quiet. I mean, from my perspective, I don't really watch the internationals. I think they're just a waste of time, and from a scouting perspective anyway. And yeah, the quicker they get binned off, or the quicker they get over and done with and get back to every week Premier League football, the better.
Spot on. And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, obviously there's usually in a normal ideal world, you know, pre the pandemic, you had the international friendlies, which led up to qualifiers, which led up to tournaments. Now there obviously wasn't a tournament this summer. It's been pushed back. One thing that really bugged me, mate, is seeing like friendlies going on, like England playing Ireland in a friendly. I think it should be scrapped altogether, to be honest. I don't think they should be playing qualifying games, because how can you have, you know, multiple players, hundreds of players from all around the world travelling to, you know, hundreds of different locations playing football against each other? How can you possibly manage that in this current climate? But then, you know, if they're qualifying games, there's a part of me that sort of thinks, well, these teams have to qualify for the competitions in the future. But friendlies just absolutely baffle me. It's a bit ridiculous, isn't it, considering not only the current situation, but you look at the injuries as well that, you know, certain teams have been dealt with. We mentioned Seamus Coleman there. We never benefit from an international break, very rarely do we. Look at the last one, we were on absolutely firing form, you know, 4 wins out of 4, 7 out of 7 in all competitions, top of the league, come back from an international break, and it all sort of falls to bits. Obviously, I know a big part of that was because we didn't have Richarlison, and that wasn't to do with the international break, but it's sort of, it's a nonsense at the moment, isn't it? You're looking at it, and all of it, nearly enough every game, you know, there's either a positive test, or a player's gone down injured, or something's happened, and you just, ultimately, you come out of an international break most times, at the best of times, and think, what was the point in that? What have we gained as a football club in terms of Everton? But now even more so, considering what's going on in the world, it just seems unnecessary, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, when you compare it to what the Premier League have done and the structure, how they've dealt with the coronavirus, it's probably one of the best that you've seen, haven't it, really? I mean, we had a few cases at the start, but since then, there hasn't really been much talk about it. I think they've nipped it in the bud very quickly and kept players in these so-called bubbles that they're meant to be in. And it seems that when they go away, these players go away, they just seem to get given license to go do what they want. As a sense, they don't really get policed as much. I mean, you've seen it before now, to bring Liverpool up, but Mohamed Salah got let go to Egypt and went to his brother's wedding, albeit it's his brother's wedding, but you've seen photos like that and you just think, how is that even being allowed to
Tested
happen?
positive as well.
Let alone, and exactly that's what I'm trying to say is like these players, if you give that, like, let's be honest, if you're keeping someone into a bubble and you're keeping them away from people and things like that, once you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So these whole international breaks is just daft in a sense that you can travel 20 to different countries and just play games and then come back, where you're mixing with players who play in Germany, Italy, Spain, France, England, Denmark. All these players just don't come from one league. They all so this whole thing about 2 meters apart and where am I? It just becomes nonsensical, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, you're mixing with other people from different countries. And listen, Salah's got out. Who's Salah been in touch with? He might take that to other teammates and affect people in France or affect people in Germany, and it just snowballs then, doesn't it?
Spot on. And it, you know, obviously we talk about the bubbles and Premier League players being in a bubble and being tested constantly, and I assume that they're tested constantly on international duty as well, but you're never too far away from the outside world as a footballer. Look, me and Tom mightn't bump into Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the centre of town, we mightn't bump into Carlo Ancelotti on the bus, but you know, those players and those managers and those coaches, there's a good chance that they will have come into some form of contact with somebody that works in the stadium, be it a steward or one of the chefs or somebody that cleans the toilets or something, and it only takes that one interaction and then that person to then go out into the normal world where they are in the norm because they're not a famous footballer or a famous manager, and then see their family, and then it mixes even more. I mean, someone brought up a good point in the comments. Jason says you could say the same regarding Champions League and Europa League, though. What is the point? And I think this all sort of spans around what football spans around really at the moment, isn't it, mate? And has done for, let's be honest, probably the last decade, and will do for quite a long time more, is money. Realistically, I said it. I was having a conversation today with my boss in work, and you know, we spoke about the 5 substitution rule, and we went into talking a little bit about the quarterly breaks that we had in lockdown, the water breaks, which, let's be honest, they went from being water breaks to just being managerial tactical breaks, because they were having water breaks on days where it was freezing cold and pissing down, you know, stopping every 20 minutes, you know, once in the first half, once in the second half, and I said, and then, you know, that was sort of nipped in the bud, obviously, going into this season, and it was seen as a managerial break, but I said to me boss today, look, that was a test out for me, for them to say, if that would have worked in 2 or 3 years, what you'd have got was Sky or BT or any of these big television companies saying, well, I tell you what, we won't film the players having a drink, because what's the point in filming the players having a drink? Nobody needs to see them having a drink or seeing Carlo Ancelotti talking to them in a huddle. We'll stick on a little advert there, or we'll stick on a little promotion thing there for the game next week. And it's football for me is slowly but surely becoming more and more commercialised every single year. And I remember going and watching the baseball in New York 5 or 10 years ago, and the baseball game, it literally goes on for about 10 hours because they stop every 5 minutes, and they've got someone on the field singing, they've got someone dancing, they've got someone bringing pizza around, and it's just it's an event for entertainment, and it's massively commercialised. And I can't help but feel football's going in that same way, and it all sort of feeds into the money made. And like we mentioned there, you know, the Euro qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers, an element of me understands it, but again, it's not necessary. If you're going to keep football going and you want to slow down the spread, then why can't we just knock international tournaments on the head for a couple of years? Why can't we just say, well, to save spreading the virus across the whole world, let's just play domestic competitions for the moment, and then leave them for sort of a time when it's a lot safer. But you know, friendlies, again, like I said, is the big thing for me. You know, Jason says, defo scrap the international window. What is the point sending players around the world? Coleman should retire from Republic of Ireland. Watching then yesterday, they are no way as good as they were in the past. But, you know, again, it just sort of feels like a nonsense having 2 teams, like you mentioned there, 2 countries, you know, okay, albeit Ireland and England are quite close, and the UK and whatever, but players coming from different countries. You got Jadon Sancho who come over from Germany, Jude Bellingham come over from Germany, you know, Ireland players travelling from different countries, playing in a game that ultimately means nothing. England could play a friendly at St George's Park with 11 on 11 with 2 England sides. I made it up in my head, and you could actually make 2 alright England sides that could play against each other for fitness. Why are we playing international friendlies against different countries in this current time? And I suppose the other point is, coming away sort of from the coronavirus a minute, is injuries as well, isn't it, mate? Players are coming back injured. Teams already at the moment, in terms of fitness-wise, again, the Premier League is so open at the moment, and we're seeing clubs and players 3 or 4 or 5 injured each other in an international break. Seamus Coleman again. It does seem like every international duty, Seamus Coleman comes back with an injury, doesn't it? And considering he's been one of our most important players this season, and we haven't really got a right back that you look at and you think you can step in there and replace the quality he brings, it's becoming a little bit annoying. I've seen a couple of people on Twitter, Tom, mention about him possibly retiring from international duty. It seems like it's the same every month or whenever the international games are, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's an issue with Everton and Ireland in general, because we had it with James McCarthy, if you remember.
Yeah.
I mean, that lad would go away every week and he'd be injured here, and all of a sudden he'd be in the squad and then he'd play 10 minutes and get injured, and you think, how have they even allowed that? So it's a bit of a balance, and you need good relationships with the international managers, don't you? But once you start dictating from a club's perspective how international managers should do it, then you're going into sort of dangerous waters where, listen, there's egos all around the place, and if say, for example, Southgate got his nose up from Ancelotti with Calvert-Lewin, he'd play him, and that's just the way it is. It's hard to balance, isn't it? But like you say, I mean, the way this year's gone on, the way what's going on in the world in general, I just find it. I don't even know why why England or why anyone's playing these. I don't get it. No one's actually come out with a good reason why. Listen, if they're getting tested and they're in the bubbles and they're not moving, then that's fine and nothing comes of it. But the more we see and the more it goes on, the more and more cases come out, doesn't it? Every international thing. So I think in a sense, then how do you scrap it, or how do you work around it? Do you have, like, let's say, I mean, we're talking about like the Nations League. I mean, that's just utter nonsense to me. I mean, well, that's just to try and pull the wool over a fan's eyes, in my opinion. Like, because they knew friendlies were going in the bin. They were only going on. No one was watching them. No one even. I'd like to see the views on the weekend. I don't even think anyone watches these games. I mean, I didn't even know England were playing Belgium. I've got no interest in it, not whatsoever. So I think they need to sort of come up with something to keep interested. But I think as well, where you have these friendlies after, like, say, 3 weeks of even in a normal year into a season, I don't get it. I mean, it just disrupts everything. I mean, what do we come to? Do we just is it making money for the national teams? I don't know. Is it just for commercial reasons? Is it for, like, whoever sponsored England, whoever sponsored Italy? Is it all for that? Like, because if we are, then I think, in the sense, then you might as well just do the Euros every year or something every year. I mean, if you're going to go down that route, and ultimately you can probably see it, there's going to be football all year round when it comes to it. Like you say, with NF, it's going very American, isn't it? It's going very American, and when you see more and more American owners coming to it, you can see the more and more influence that this sort of Americanized football that they've got in their heads to do.
Yeah, spot on, and you're right. Again, we saw it a couple of years ago. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it's Dewey Lipper or somebody else performed at the Champions League final. You'd have people performing at the FA Cup final. And again, I'm not massively against the singer coming on and doing a few tunes before a game of footy. But for me, that's not all it is. Those owners of those clubs, those people coming in and suggesting this isn't just lash, flow rider on before the FA Cup final. That'll be sound. What it is, it's testing the waters, and before long, like the Super Bowl, in an FA Cup final, a Champions League final, there'll be an half-time show, and there'll be adverts left, right and centre, and it is becoming more commercialised, and you're spot on. Just to go back on your point there about players and keeping good relationships with managers and international managers, I don't know if you'll know this, I'm just throwing this out there because I don't know it. Who is, I suppose Everton, let's say, for example, Carlo Ancelotti sitting there doing his press conference, and the Colombian manager, I don't know his name, apologies, comes up and says, we want him.
Carlos
Queiroz.
Isn't it? The old Man U assistant manager, I think it is.
And Carlos Queiroz comes over and says, Carlo Ancelotti, we want...
Carl, someone do that Spider-Man.
Carlo, yeah. Definitely do that Spider-Man. We get it. I'm going to confuse myself here. And one Carlo says to the other Carlo, listen, Carlo, we need James Rodriguez for the upcoming international break. And Carlo Ancelotti looks at it and goes, we play Man United, Chelsea and Arsenal after the international window. James Rodriguez has just picked up a slight knock in our last game. Can Carlo Ancelotti turn around to Carlos then and say, no, he's not going? Is it the player's decision? Is it the manager's decision? Is it sort of a joint decision? Where does that lie there? Is that the manager who says, no, you're not going and that's final? Or can a player turn around and say, no, I don't want to go? But then I suppose most players wouldn't do that, would they? Because they want to go and play for the country.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think from my understanding is that there is an actual sort of relationship between international, sort of, say, doctors here and then doctors over there and their particular thing. Because we've seen it in the past with Brazil and things like that, where they've gone to international and they've sort of found injuries. So it probably benefits clubs in some senses.
Right. It says it's gone back live, but let's just give it a sec for everyone to refresh and get back on. There we go. I think. Hang on.
Oh yeah, we are.
Are we back? I think so. It's still spinning.
Guess who's back?
I asked for an Ask Me Anything, and there's loads of Wi-Fi jokes in the comments. You know what? I wish it was the Wi-Fi. It'd be so much easier to manage. I'd just literally go and turn the telly off and tell me daddy can't use it, but it's not. It's my computer being awfully slow at anything. So apologies about that. Hopefully that last 4 minutes will just go into the void of nothingness of YouTube after this live stream is published. So big thanks for everybody that stuck around. Really do appreciate it. If you're enjoying, please do hit that like button. It wouldn't be a Cameron live stream without a technical issue. Please do share it on social media as well. Try and get as many people in here as possible. Try and get as many people back for those that left. We are back. Semi says welcome back, mate. Lucas says back, sorted on my end. Jason says welcome back, thank you very much. It was my fault. If anybody thinks it's their connection, it wasn't. It was my computer. Just before the computer decided to go into cardiac arrest mode, we were talking about Seamus Coleman, Tom, and I asked we were talking about players and international duties, and I asked whose responsibility it sort of was, when players are picked for international duty, who makes that decision as to whether they go or not, and you mentioned that you think it's the player, so that's, again, the relationship between managers and international managers is something that I suppose they have to uphold, don't they? And ultimately, it's the players' decision is the final decision on whether they want to go and play for their country or not, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a privilege, isn't it, for the player to go to the it's a big thing for players. It's not a big thing for fans at the moment. I don't know how England can even get fans back into it. I honestly don't know. I mean, it's becoming more so like a Wimbledon in tennis and the Ashes in cricket, isn't it? When England go into these tournaments, and even then, I don't think anyone really gets into them. We haven't. What it is as well, just going down a bit of a stream on that one. There's no connection with players anymore. That's just perfect. You look at the likes of Gaza and things like that, and they had these personalities. Even Rooney had a personality, didn't he? He took the world of light. So now you just see people just seem or they get portrayed as these sort of mollycoddled kids who just get chauffeured around all over the place. So I'd hopefully see them get more. You see them more on YouTube and start just bringing their own personalities out, because obviously there is some characters in there and they need to just let it loose, don't they? So
spot on.
But yeah, going on to like who's sort of responsibility it's ultimately the player.
Yeah.
I mean, if the player's carrying an injury, no matter what, let's be honest, they're gonna go.
Yeah.
It's just that sort of athlete's mentality, isn't it? That you just go through the pain and things like that. But listen, with Coleman, just him specifically, I think it's more silliness on his part to. And I totally understand that he's the captain of Ireland, but at the end of the day, when do you put Everton before that? I mean, if you've got an injury and you look at it and you're getting paid 80 grand a week, you've got to sort of put the club first, in my opinion. Especially when it's like this, when it's a friendly, you're going to a friendly. I know you want a cap and all things like that, but there's bigger things, isn't there?
Spot on.
In my opinion, anyway.
No, spot on. And like we mentioned before briefly, and I want to talk a little bit more about it, and then we'll go on to talking about Isco. There is bigger things, and at the moment there's a global pandemic that is, harming and unfortunately taking the lives of many, many people, and it just seems unnecessary to have international games at this moment in time. And you mentioned earlier on, Tom, about it being managed in the way the Premier League manage it and the way other leagues manage it, and then bubbles and testing every week and stuff. For me, it seems like it's being mismanaged an awful lot in regards to international duty, and it's not like we're seeing the international break and players tested beforehand and then stay within a bubble, tested maybe once during it and then once after. What we're seeing is players testing positive at half time after playing the first 45 minutes in a game of football, players testing positive after the game. I don't really understand that, because for me, if you're a player and you've had a test and you have not received that result yet, you shouldn't be allowed to play, because that result ultimately could come back positive. And then if you're still allowed to play with a positive result, what's the point in testing people? You may as well just let everyone play.
Yeah, just on that, I think more so then you got to look more like in what they're doing in England, because if you're playing in a Carabao Cup, I don't know whether it was Lincoln or played Wolves, they only get tested when they play against Premier League teams. They can't afford to all this testing. So I don't know whether it was Lincoln or one of them teams who played Wolves or someone got tested and it was tested probably like 5-10 minutes before the game. So like they've got to show. Oh, sorry, tell a lie. It was against Tottenham, weren't it? Late in
and he had to forfeit, didn't he? And then
I don't know whether it was a forfeit but it was meant to be on Sky, weren't it? And there was nothing on. I think they put something retro game on. But I mean, things like that. It's just baffling. Like, to me, it should just be. I mean, the Premier League have took themselves away from the FA or the EFL altogether, haven't they? So they're on a different thing. If these top leagues can play in bubbles and they can afford to, then that's fine. But the FA have failed miserably on the sort of these players who play in League One, Championship. There's still internationals who play there who aren't really getting tested. Yeah. So it's just a mess. And is it naivety, or is it just I don't know, we'll do what we want kind of thing? It's hard to judge, isn't it?
Spot on. And ultimately, like you mentioned there, those lower league clubs, can't afford the testing week in, week out, so they're not in as safe a position as Premier League clubs. And I always remember going back to the start of this whole, when football was first suspended at the back end of last season, and when we were coming back, he was just a pundit. I won't name him because I don't want to give him the time of day, but he said something along the lines of, if I had...
Can we guess?
Yeah, you could probably guess, yeah.
Go ahead, say it. Get in the comments. And
you could probably guess, but he said something along the lines of, if I was playing and I had a positive test, I'd try and hide it. And
Danny Murphy.
No, it wasn't Danny Murphy. But close though. But when he said when he said it, I sort of thought, well, that's a stupid thing to say for a start, and secondly, that wouldn't be possible. But you look at the situation, certainly with the Alan Brown test. The Alan Brown, Irish midfielder, tested positive after he'd played in the game against England the other day, and you sort of, not only are you sitting there thinking, bloody hell, I hope he's alright, I hope he manages and he gets through it, but then you're sitting there from an Everton point of view, and I suppose it is a selfish point of view, and thinking, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, our top goal scorer, one of our best players, has just played in that game, probably jumped up for a header against them, probably had an altercation with them. Michael Keane's the same, Jordan Pickford's the same, Cenk Tosun played in the game with Vida testing positive, and you saw, for me, I just don't understand how players can play a game having not had their test result back. But then it doesn't really mean anything, does it, Tom? Because a player could test negative on a Friday and then play on the Saturday morning, and he might have shook hands with the chef getting his breakfast in the morning and passed it on there. So it's really difficult, the whole situation, to manage, isn't it? And I just think international football adds to an necessity.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, if you take out football for a minute, I mean, they've got this thing in Liverpool now that they're sort of using Liverpool as like a guinea pig to trial and test this testing thing. And when you're going down that route, you're seeing all people coming out now, even doctors and things like that, saying that it doesn't necessarily work, or it's sort of not saying that you're positive, but it's sort of picking up that you've got some a little bit into it. So this is what could be the same testing as what the clubs are using. So it's all just an absolute mess. Yeah. So the best thing to do is just not play internationals. Stay in your own countries, even with sort of Champions League. Listen, if that team gets tested, say on the Saturday, then gets tested on a Sunday or Monday, then that's fine, and then they get tested on the same day. But like you said, with the Brown situation, how are these players getting tested, then allowed to go out and get play? Like that to me, in my head, just doesn't make sense.
Spot on.
It just doesn't. It doesn't even register. What's the point of them getting a test? Who are you protecting? I don't get it.
Exactly, spot on. If you're allowing a player to go out, either knowing he's got a positive test result, which I don't think was the case, but knowing that his test result hasn't come back yet, you're practically saying, well, it doesn't really matter if it's positive, because we're willing to take that risk, which is a nonsense. But Ireland would probably say, well, we couldn't afford to not have him play, and certain other teams, and certainly lower league teams as well, say, well, he's a top player for us. We can't afford to have all of these players out. Look at Leyton Orient. They were completely wiped out of a competition because they couldn't put a team together because of positive tests. And again, like I said, it is a mess. That's exactly what it is. It's a mess, and those two situations for me, along with the international break being absolutely unnecessary, those two situations just riled me up last week, because I thought, how can a player possibly play 45 minutes of football, come off at half time, and them say he's got a positive test, he'll have to come out? How is he allowed to play without getting that result either beforehand, or being told you haven't got your result yet, so you're not playing?
It's madness, because if you just look at it from an Everton perspective, you've had one of the Brazilian lads get test positive, and Richarlison was supposedly. Now,
Alan,
if you look at that, exactly. So now, technically, if that's the case, Everton lose two of the probably key players for the next few games. Over what? over silliness. Yeah. It's very hard to sort of work out, because at the end of the day, this is just a total anomaly, innit, for the world. Yeah. There's no real sort of right or wrong how to do it. Listen, you could go into the government here. It's an absolute farce what they've done. Yeah. I mean, they're hopeless, aren't they? Let's be straight there. But just on Everton's standpoint, I mean, it's going to affect clubs massively. This could be sort of, especially for lower clubs, they could have players out for 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks, it could be two very important games where they get relegated. Yeah. And so what happens then? Like, do they sort of go down the route of going in the courts and trying to work out something there? Why, it's going to be a mess. Yeah. It's going to be an absolute mess if they continue with it. Like, the whole international thing, which we both agree on, it's just a waste of time. it's a waste of time.
Completely.
It brings more issues than what it brings good.
Yeah. Spot on. Completely agree. Stewie says, shared on Twitter, Cam, thank you very much. Also says the problem is some of them tests are throwing out false positives. They are, exactly. He also says hit that like button. Semi says hit that like button. Thank you very much. Eugene says Real Madrid willing to accept £20 million offer for Isco. Let's go into Isco then. Obviously there's been a lot of rumours recently. It's that one that doesn't seem to want to go away. It was first brought out because apparently Isco had said that he wants to rejoin Carlo Ancelotti at Everton. Very, very close to James Rodriguez, I believe, at Real Madrid as well. I suppose there's two questions when talking about Isco, Tom. One of them is this realistic? And is there anything in the rumours? And the second is, if so, is Isco a player that would come in and improve Everton and ultimately, again, add to that squad depth that we need to take us to that next level?
Well, I mean, the rumours just keep going, don't they? They're very persistent. I mean, normally when things like that happens, there isn't no smoke without fire, really, is there? Going on a sense of where does he fit, then, I mean, you would be expecting them Bernard to leave them, wouldn't you, if that was the case? And maybe one of them or Iwobi. I can't see Iwobi going anywhere for the foreseeable future, but more Bernard. I mean, it's one of them. It's where do you play him? Like, do you play him in front and behind Calvert-Lewin? Do you put him on the left? Because he ultimately, for me, he's not a replacement for Richarlison. No. The profile's completely different, so I can't see him do that. Maybe it's a replacement for Sigurdsson or Gomez.
Potentially.
And put him in the 3. I mean, he's still got his legs going about. I mean, he's been out of favour, but you can always question things like that. But there was big questions about James Rodriguez, weren't there? And look what he's done. I mean, and he's older ultimately. Isco's a fantastic player, and listen, Everton can't really sort of afford to pull faces at players like that, can they? I mean,
well, that's what I was.
If he can come in and he can go in a 3 with the core, or you look at it, he might be looking at a formation like he done at Newcastle, and having Isco and James Rodriguez behind Calvert-Lewin. And at certain points, I mean, Richarlison's going to obviously be pushing for going up front in the end. I mean, we've got no one. I mean,
no cover.
Shane Towson's just, I mean, do we even want to bother touching on that thing? I mean, I know it's all right. He scores pens for Turkey. That's all well and good, but do me a favour.
We don't get pens, so.
I know what I mean. Do me a favour with him.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just paying him to just spray his hair on either. You know what I mean? So that. If you talk about miracle growth,
that's true. To be fair.
That is magic on his head, whatever he's using. Pass that over.
You're spot on there about that one, to be fair. Just about...
Wouldn't mind looking like Donny Osmond on a Saturday.
You're spot on. And I suppose about the Isco one as well, is it does smell a lot like the James situation, which isn't a bad thing, because James Rodriguez come in with every other football fan that wasn't an Everton fan saying, he wouldn't be able to do it, he's not good enough for the Prem, he hasn't got his legs, he hasn't been good since 2014, all of this crap. James come in and has lit the Premier League up so far, albeit he's had a couple of games where he hasn't been as energetic, but he's obviously been struggling with injuries as well. Like I said, the Isco situation seems very familiar, doesn't it? It's a player that's played under Carlo Ancelotti before, a player that's spoken about how much he likes Carlo Ancelotti, and that correlation is there. Having said that, and I'm not saying there's nothing in the Isco rumours, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't come to Everton. Having said that though, Tom, we do have to be wary, don't we? Because it's very, very easy for journalists now to go, well, that's a player who used to play for Carlo Ancelotti. That's a player who's been very complimentary of Carlo Ancelotti. For another example, Cristiano Ronaldo. Again, I'm not throwing him in the hat, but he is a player that's been very complimentary of Carlo Ancelotti. It's quite easy then to say, if that player is not in favour at their club, link them with Everton. You'll get loads of clicks, you'll get loads of people interested, you'll make loads of money from it. Do you feel like that is the case, or do you feel like there's something a little bit different about this one? And ultimately, I suppose the question is, Isco might want to come to Everton, as did Wilfried Zaha for me in the summer, as do a lot of players. Is Isco somebody that you realistically think Everton would go in for?
Well, I mean, you've got to look at it from a perspective of recruitment-wise and putting me scouting head on, recruitment head on. Everton need, and I've been saying it to you for weeks and weeks since I've been, we need a ball carrier in midfield. Does he fit that profile? Yeah, to a certain degree. Can he transfer that to the Premier League? Question marks always is, because at the end of the day, the Premier League's intensity is far greater than what Spain, Bundesliga, Serie A is. It's not a European friendly league. It's just fast paced, 100 mile an hour game. So you sort of got to look at it from that standpoint. But just stripping it back and just looking at the basics. I mean, Spanish international. He can eye for a pass. He's absolutely fantastic with that. He can also go on. He can play left wing, right wing. But I think his favourite spot is going to be the number 10. If he can play in a 3, and you have Isco, James Rodriguez, Richarlison in a sort of 3 behind Lewin, I think it'd be very interesting to watch it, wouldn't it?
No, spot on. I agree, and he's definitely an exciting player. Definitely a player that, you know, in his days at Real Madrid when he was being played and when he had that consistency behind him, very, very good quality. I remember seeing him in the Champions League and thinking this lad is absolutely something else. And you know, you're spot on it. I suppose it's a case of also, if we're going to bring Isco in and have that view to put him in that midfield, then, you know, what happens to Sigurdsson or Gomez? Surely one of them has to go. You're looking at Bernard, like you mentioned, surely he has to be moved on. So I think personally, just in regards to transfer windows, be it January or the summer, I think we'll see outgoings before we see incomings, because we saw a lot of incomings this summer, and okay, we had a lot of outgoings in regards to players out of contract, but those big money players that are still there, you know, again, your Sigurdssons, maybe your Bernards who are looking to leave. Obviously, there was the Balassi situation with Middlesbrough as well. So it's one of them, isn't it? Like I said, it is sort of like one hand saying, oh, that I can see that being very possible. The other hand is saying, I can see it being very possible, but it's also very easy for somebody to just make up on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to look out for certain journalists, don't you? You know what I mean? I mean, once the Athletic or someone picks it up, in my opinion, I don't think they have as yet.
I don't think so, no.
But no, until one of them sort of picks it up, then I'll start taking it a lot more serious. Yeah. But when it's just sort of, as I say, it's sort of at this moment, it's normally like publications that are just sort of trying to pick players out who would sort of fit for Everton or what Everton would technically go after. But as it mounts and mounts, I feel like in the end, if something does come out, it's going to be either one of the Athletic with Paddy Boylan's or someone like that. So I just take it as a pinch of salt at this moment in time. But listen, like I say, I mean, he's a fantastic player, and at 28, there's still bags of sort of football in him. I mean, we're getting these lads where they're thinking they're over the hill. I mean, when you look at James Rodriguez, if you can keep him fit for 30 games, which Everton need to at this current moment in time, and he can play, he's shown his abilities, and I think Isco will do the exact same. I mean, we've never had these sort of technical, creative players at Everton, have we? So the only thing that worries me is that are we going to go down this road of bringing these technically gifted players in, but giving them no pace to aim at?
Yeah,
that's my worry. That's ultimately. I mean, the biggest elephant in the room is, how do you replace Richarlison? Yeah. How do you replace him?
Yeah.
There's no one at the club. If you get rid of Bernard, say for example, and you get rid of Sigurdsson and you bring Isco in, have Everton got then the capacity to bring another player in as a similar profile to Richarlison? I highly doubt it.
Spot on. Couldn't agree more, mate. Jaden says, Mina had another shocker against Uruguay. Yeah, I believe James had to gifted the goal as well. Didn't watch it because I'm not staying up till however late to watch Uruguay and Colombia, but I did hear that. Wayne says, can we sign players we need first? Toothy says, got to go take... Oh no, Toothy says, do you think Burnley will sack Dyche? It's Stewie that says, got to go take it easy. Thank you very much, Stewie, really appreciate it. Think Burnley will sack Dyche?
They'd be very silly to, wouldn't they? I mean, who is there that they bring in? I mean, he's done listen, he's done fantastic for Burnley and that sort of structure, hasn't he? I mean, they don't spend much. They're very British based on transfers, so I don't really know what Burnley wants.
Yeah.
Like you don't, do you? I mean, they're just happy to stay in the Premier League. If you can do it, it's a massive bonus. But to go down, I mean, if Burnley went down, who would be better than Sean Dyche?
It's true. Very true.
You know what I mean? What are you going to do? Just get rid of him for? Listen, they're the type of clubs that just get relegated and come back. The yo-yo clubs, aren't they? Until he put money into it, until he take that risk of putting money into it, then they're going to be like that, and they're always going to be like that. That's no disrespect.
Yeah.
It's just
how
some clubs are getting run. Yeah.
It is what it is. Spot on. Stewie says, Cam, do you play on PS4 or Xbox? Have you played the new COD yet? PS4, I've actually had the new COD delivered today, but it's on PS5, and I haven't even ordered the PS5, so it's literally sitting there, and I probably won't be able to play it for about 3 months. Do you play COD, Tom, or any PS4 or Xbox or anything like that?
No, used to, but not at the moment. I was debating it while it's been in lockdown. I was debating it, getting on and having a little go, but listen, like you say, it's addictive, isn't it? So you'd be sat there for hours on end. They end up wanting. Hey, listen, if you get any good at it and become one of them Switch fellas who get millions of pounds, then by all means, crack on. But I don't think anyone will be watching me getting killed 20 times on the bounce.
I'll tune in, mate. I'd watch.
Yeah. Hey, you just start throwing things around, wouldn't you?
Hey, pays. That the entertainment pays.
Listen, the white jacket will be on its way round if that carries.
Right, we're going to have to finish it up there then, because I've got to dump to Hobbycraft with the missus. I do appreciate every single person for getting involved, as per usual. Big thanks to everybody in the live comments. Really, really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe as well. Tom, big thanks for joining us again today, mate. Anything to say before we finish up?
Oh, let's just hope we beat stop the rot, isn't it? And we go and beat Fulham on the weekend. Fingers crossed. Hey, listen, it's a good thing that they've take quickly Premier League have scrapped this pay-per-view nonsense.
Yeah, spot on.
I'm happy that I'm actually happy that fans have actually took a stance against it. Now we're on BBC, so let's watch them on BBC.
Let's watch them win. Hopefully, watch them win.
Well, come on.
That's it.
Come on, we're not that bad.
Hey, touch wood. Famous last words. That Sherry says, thanks, Cam. Thanks, Tom. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Really, really do appreciate it. Tom will be back within the next couple of weeks as well. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Oh, here we go.